Okay, so welcome to this training called Cycle Syncing 101, how to understand your cycle so that you can eat chocolate, skip the gym, and jumpstart your weight loss. And I'm really excited to be sharing this training with you because our cycle is something that we aren't really ever taught about. It's something that I had to go out and research on my own. A lot of times when we say cycle, we're just thinking about our period, right? But it is actually our full 28-day cycle that we need to take into consideration. Because what happens when it comes to traditional weight loss methods like counting calories, trying to exercise off your food, that's not taking into account the rise and falls of your hormones during your cycle. It's just meant to be this stagnant thing. You're doing the same thing just over and over again, but that's not what's happening with your body. As a woman, your hormones are constantly changing throughout your cycle. And when you work with that instead of against it, it makes it much easier to balance your hormones and lose weight. And a lot of times what happens is, since we don't learn about how our cycles work, how those hormones affect things, then we end up thinking that these clues that our bodies are giving us are actually signs that we're weak or we're failing, right? You crave a chocolate bar and you think, I must be doing something bad because I want chocolate. Or you get really tired and you don't want to go to the gym, but you think you have to go because I just have to keep going to lose weight. But that's not the case. And that is what we are going to talk about today. So in this training, I'll be going over how to eat, move, and take care of yourself during each phase of your cycle to support your hormones and your body. So your cycle is divided into 4 phases: menstruation, the luteal phase, ovulation, and the follicular phase. And the easiest way to remember these is to think of them as the 4 seasons. So I'll talk about that as we go through each of the 4 phases individually. And as I've mentioned, cycle syncing is super helpful for balancing your hormones and for weight loss. So this training is going to be really helpful. Make sure that you've got something to take notes with. You might want to watch this again, but this is going to be really helpful. And again, it might help clear some things up and help you realize I'm not weak. This is natural to feel this way at this point in my cycle. Okay, so we're going to start off with menstruation, and that's because, this is what everyone thinks when you say your cycle. But menstruation is the first 1 to 5-ish days of your cycle. I'm going to be giving days for your cycle, but just know that everyone's individual cycle is different. So it kind of comes down to you really paying attention to what's going on in your body. But like I said, I'll be giving kind of just general day spans of how long each phase is. But again, listen to your body because everyone is going to be different. Okay, so like I said, menstruation is 1 to 5 day 1 to 5 generally for women. So day 1 is starting your cycle over, and that is starting with menstruation. And like I said, you can think of it like winter. And this is, of course, better known as your period. So at this point in your cycle, your estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone are at their lowest point. So this is a really good time to just rest and take care of yourself because your body is doing a lot. So really prioritize self-care. This is the time where you need to rest. Do not go do some high intensity interval training workout. Don't go to the gym and go into beast mode because that is not what is best for your body right now, right? If you want to do some exercise, the best thing to do during this part of your cycle is go for a nice meditative walk, do some really gentle yoga or some stretching, nothing very taxing on your body. And in terms of food, it's important to eat nourishing, hearty foods during this time, like bone broth, soups and stews. You can have grass-fed meats, leafy greens, mushrooms, and dark chocolate, and really make sure that you are drinking plenty of water. Okay. So now on to the follicular phase. So you can think of this like spring. And the follicular phase is going to be about day 6 to day 14 of your cycle. It comes right after menstruation. So this is when your estrogen and your testosterone are on the rise. So you're going to feel your energy start to increase. So this is a good time to set new goals, start new projects, start to be more extroverted and outgoing during this time because you're going to have the energy for it. And because you have your energy going on the rise, this is a good time to do those more intense workouts. So if you want to do a high intensity interval training workout, if you want to do some more intense weightlifting or cardio, this is a good time to do that. And then when it comes to foods, things that you want to consider are lighter foods. So we're talking about pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, cucumber, avocado, mango, berries, zucchini, greens, and wild caught salmon. So salads and smoothies are really good go-tos during this time. Okay. Next up, we have ovulation, and this is going to be the most likely the shortest part of your cycle. It's only a couple days, days 15 to 17-ish. And you can think of this as summer. So this is when your estrogen and your testosterone are at their peak. So you're still going to feel really energized, really outgoing. So it's a good time to continue to just get things done. It's also a really good time to go on a date and be romantic with your partner because this is when you are fertile, so your body understands that. So your libido is at its peak, you're feeling really flirty. So this is a good time to be romantic with your partner. You might also notice that you aren't as hungry during this phase for that exact reason. So your body actually slightly suppresses your appetite during ovulation, and your metabolism slows down just a little bit. So your body can focus on making a baby if that's what you're choosing to do, because that is the time when you are fertile. So this is still a really good time to do intense workouts like high intensity interval trainings, weightlifting, cardio, because your energy is still really high. And this is a good time for lighter foods, raw foods, again, thinking about summery foods. So salads and smoothies are still really great options. Still sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, wild caught salmon, kale, broccoli, and berries. And then finally, we have the luteal phase. And this is day about 18 to 28. And you can think of this as fall. So this is when your progesterone starts to rise and your testosterone and your estrogen are coming down. So you'll start to feel more calm and relaxed and really snuggly, think about fall. And this is a good time to do some organizing in your house and start practicing more self-care because you're kind of in this nesting mode. So when it comes to exercise, this is a good time to kind of taper off the higher intensity workouts and do things more like Pilates or yoga, light weights, or just go for a walk. And when it comes to food, you still want to focus on sunflower seeds and sesame seeds, but then you want to eat things like beets, lentils, beans, spinach, grass-fed beef, sweet potatoes, and dark chocolate. Because in this phase of your cycle, your metabolism is actually slightly elevated. So you are going to be a little bit more hungry during this phase. So just know that that's okay. And this is also a good time to have just a few more carbs for that exact same reason. So that's why we talk about having things like starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, and also incorporating things like beans. That's good. This is going to be a good time to incorporate those foods. And of course, dark chocolate. One thing to note during this phase, though, I know I talked about increasing self-care during this time as well as going into your period, but you do not want to consume alcohol during this phase of your period. I know that we think of having a glass of wine as really relaxing, but alcohol actually can raise your estrogen levels by up to 10%. And what that will do in terms of your cycle is it can aggravate PMS symptoms. And you don't want to experience, the cramping, the headaches, the tender breasts. And by having alcohol at this point in your cycle, you're just increasing your chances of having all of those things happen. So it's better to really stick with water or make a fun mocktail with just some club soda, throw some berries in there, maybe some herbs. Do that instead of reaching for your cocktail or your glass of wine. Okay, so I know that was probably a lot of new information that I just went through. So like I said, you might want to watch this training a couple times. Make sure you go back and take a couple good notes. But again, like I said, the easiest way to remember these and think about the foods, the kind of movement that you want to be doing and how you would be feeling is to think of these phases as the season. So again, menstruation is like winter, the follicular phase is like spring, ovulation is like summer, and the luteal phase is like fall. And that really helps you think about, what kind of foods am I craving during the spring? And it's very similar to the foods that you want to be eating during your follicular phase. So that's just a really easy way to think about the different phases of your cycle. And again, this is really, really helpful for promoting hormone balance and weight loss. And remember, if your hormones aren't happy, then you won't lose weight. So review this training as many times as you need.